It's the match preview for Arsenal versus West Ham. Of course, West Ham coming off the back of a very disappointing home defeat to Brentford last weekend. So there will be a bit of pressure, you feel, going into this one to see a response from Graham Potter's side. Before we get into that, though, and get into our preview, if you're new to the channel, or maybe you're not new to the channel, but you're not a subscriber yet, do subscribe. It takes 2 seconds to do so, and it really does help us grow. And also remember to hit that like button. Joined by Tom, of course, today to talk about the game coming up. But what we tend to do is talk about the opponent first. So, Tom, Arsenal this season, probably not gone quite as according to plans they probably would have hoped, considering the fact Man City have not been at the races this season. What are your thoughts on Arsenal? Do you feel like they are obviously still a force in the Premier League? Do you feel like this has been a little bit of an opportunity missed for them this season so far?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you say, when Man City have a rare off season, which has been very rare in recent times, you thought they were best placed to go on and win the league, and they still might this season. But it looks like Liverpool are going to give them a hard time and probably end up winning it. So yeah, it does feel like a missed opportunity. I do feel like they've kind of got away from that sort of first season. They challenged City with Xhaka and Odegaard in midfield. Martinelli and Saka were playing really well. That's when they really looked a proper team going forward, and they create chances at will, and they were beating teams 2-3, 4-0. Since then, they've become a little bit more defensive, a little bit more reliant on set pieces, and less of a force in that regard. But they're still a top team. It's still going to be a very difficult game, as it always is. But yeah, I think if they don't win the league this season, which I think they're going to struggle to, they will kick themselves, because this was a big opportunity. You'd expect City to come again next season, be a force again, be right up there. So they might not have had a better season to go on and win it. And I'm sure Arteta is really bemoaning that, because big opportunity missed, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I look at Arsenal and think, as you say, still a great side. There's no two ways about it. Littered with quality. I think they're lacking in depth. I think that's become quite exposed, especially with the injuries they've had. You can see that they are significantly weaker when they lose just a couple of players. They don't look quite themselves. And totally get your point in terms of their style this season. There has been a shift at Arsenal. I don't think they've been as impressive, to be honest. I've not enjoyed watching them as I usually have done in recent years under Arteta. I found them to be quite a dominating team, very forceful and quite exciting to watch at times and quite entertaining. Whereas this season, it's almost like they've reverted to a style of win at all costs, defend very well, as you say, that kind of mindset, trying to nick games on set pieces. I don't really have a real big problem with that. And I don't think Arsenal fans have a big problem with that if it yields success. I think the problem is it's not really yielding much success at the moment. I watched them this season. I don't think they're as good as they were last season. I think they look weaker. That's considering they're still second in the league. They're still in the title race. They're still in the Champions League. It shows you how good they are still as a side. But I do wonder, Tom, whether if they are to go through this season and not win anything, which, let's be honest, at the moment, it looks more likely that they're not going to win the Premier League. It's unlikely they're going to win the Champions League. It's just such an intense, the teams that are still in it, it's very, very hard. Not to say they won't. They still can, but it's going to be very hard for them. If they come out this season empty-handed again, I do wonder whether the pressure is going to start to turn a little bit on Arteta and Arsenal, because this was an opportunity, like you say, Tom, that, having Man City off the way they have been wasn't really expected. And the fact that Arsenal, the last 2 seasons prior, have really, really gone for the title. They've been so close, and Man City have just been too good, and they just couldn't quite get there. The fact that Man City have been off and then they've not gone on to win something again, I do get the impression that Arsenal fans might start to losing their patience a little bit, start to feel, look, has Arteta taken as far as we can go? Are we a side that's regressing? I don't think they will get rid of Arteta. I think they'd be foolish to, and I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But I just wonder whether that conversation will start in the media, that noise of, right, because I do feel like if they don't win anything this season, next season the pressure is really on. I feel like the Arsenal fans will go, right, it's now or never. Now you deliver. We've got to see some silverware, because let's be honest, that's what it's all about. And Arsenal are too big a club, really, to not be winning Premier League titles for 20 years. That seems, quite a big gap. So I do wonder whether that's going to change. What's your thoughts on their squad, Tom? I mean, I've got to be honest, I was a bit underwhelmed with the signings they've made. I think Raheem Sterling was a bit of a gamble that's backfired. I've not been overly impressed with him. And when you consider the other teams where they lose players, they've got other players to step in. I look at Arsenal and I do think there's a very strong first 11, and they have got obviously some decent players available as well, but not many really off the bench. It does feel like they struggle. Do you feel that's a fair assessment?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, their transfer policy has been slightly unusual in the last few windows, in the fact that they've bought a lot of the same type of players. They've obviously really strengthened their defensive line. They've bought reinforcements in that defensive area that sort of are similar to what they've already got. So I think they've got a number of good defenders. Like they've got, probably 6 or 7 good defenders. But going forward is where they're obviously lacking. It's been well documented that they didn't go really hard for anyone in January. They put a bid in for Watkins. I don't think that was ever going to be accepted. So I think going forward they've not really improved in the last few seasons, and that's why I like to talk about the style. They don't seem to be free flowing like they were, and I think that's because they're limited options going forward. Also, they've had big injuries, as you talked about with Saka. Erdgaard has only just come back. That's obviously going to have a massive impact, but they're definitely missing a big centre forward. I think it's nothing new in saying that. Everyone has said that. And I think if they weren't going to go for a big centre forward, if they were going to rely on Havertz as that kind of false nine, if you like, they needed big numbers from Saka and Martinelli, and particularly Martinelli. He's just not really gone on to the player I think we all sort of thought he would be. So, excuse me, defensively, really good, and that's why they are the best defensive side in the league, in my opinion, and the stats back that up. But going forward, I think is where they're lacking, and I'm really surprised. Even with Watkins, apparently he's an Arsenal fan. Apparently he was keen on the move. Why not do it at the start of January? Why not put that £60 million bid in at the start of January? And then, Villa might come back and say, okay, 80 million, and they obviously negotiate, meet in the middle somewhere. And then it gives Villa time to go and improve their squad. But it was so late. They were obviously about to sell Duran as well. So they obviously turned that down. And that was kind of it. Arsenal didn't really go back in for him, which I found really strange. If they could get a big centre forward, then that would make a massive difference. But I think attacking areas is where they're really lacking as a squad. But still, as we say, they are still a very, very good team, second in the league. They have good options. I really like Nwaneri, the youngster coming through on the right. He's going to be the danger man, I think, tomorrow. He's a really good player. So they've got tons of good talent in their side. They're just lacking in a couple of areas going forward.
Yeah, you touched on the Watkins bid in January. That had the feel of David Sullivan over it, actually. It felt a bit like a we tried moment from Arsenal. Villa were never going to sell Watkins in January. Why would they? I mean, they've got big fish to fry themselves this season. They're competing. As you say, they're selling Duran. I didn't quite get it. Other than purely that, look at us, we're trying to get a striker. We couldn't quite do it. It was a bit strange. I don't know what the intention was. It was never going to be accepted. So it did certainly feel a little bit like that. And as I say, I've just... Some of the recruitment decisions have been a little bit puzzling. They didn't get the striker in the summer that they should have done. That's evident. It's been talked about in football for long enough now that Arsenal are lacking that striker. Also, it gives me an air of arrogance about it. It's almost like, no, we don't need that. We don't need that striker. Everyone keeps telling us, well, you do. You do need a striker. It's quite obvious that's been a problem for Arsenal for a little while now. Don't get me wrong, they've still got incredible talent going forward, but you do need that striker. I think that does make a big difference if you're going to go and win a title. I think it's important to have that player that's going to get you the 25 goals, which I think would make the difference. And then they've gone and brought in Raheem Sterling. I always thought that was an odd move. He looked shot at Chelsea. Really, I just feel like he's come to the end of his career. I feel like Sterling's at this level now. He's had a great career at this level. No two ways about it. So it was an odd move. I don't get me wrong. I know it's a loan, but again, if I was an Arsenal fan, I'd be disappointed. I thought that was a bit of a flat decision to go and to make it happen. I know what, look, it could have worked out well, but it hasn't. I watched him against Leicester last weekend, Sterling. I thought he was really poor. Just a shadow of the player he was. So I do feel that Arsenal, as you say, mate, they are a top side still. They're and they are well within the title race still. I still don't think that they're out of it. It's going to be tough for them to get there, but they're still within. It's there, but they're going to have to basically win every game now, which I'm just not convinced that they will. We'll come to this game in a minute, but I do get the impression, I do get the feeling that next season the pressure is going to be on for Arteta. I don't. There's only so long you can keep getting second and getting second. You're almost there, I think, and then until the frustrations will start to creep in, especially the fact that they've dropped in performances this season, which theoretically should have yielded more points, because you've said, look, we're going to play it more safe. We're going to nick results. We're going to stay firm and get those 3 points. And I don't think they've done that. I don't. They've slipped up in quite a few games this season where they should have got all 3 points. And I just think that I don't know whether the Arsenal fans are going to start to get a little bit impatient with that now. And they might not. Arsenal fans probably watching this and comment and say I'm totally wrong. And look, I'm not suggesting Arteta should be sacked. By the way, I think he's been a great fit for Arsenal and he's been an excellent appointment. There's no two ways about it. I don't like the guy at all, but I can't knock the guy in terms of his ability as a manager. He's clearly very good at it. But I think the pressure is going to be on. I do, and I'm not convinced they're going to win anything this season. I think their probably best chance at the match probably on the Champions League actually than the Premier League. Because I just think Liverpool they seem that they're just going to see this get this over the line. But that's not to say they're out of it. We'll go on to West Ham now, Tom. But before I do, myself and Tom are going to be doing a live show actually on Monday. It's going to be at noon, and we're going to be talking about the London Stadium. It's obviously a big talking point for West Ham fans at the moment. Karen Brady's interview, did a video on that yesterday. We'll talk about that a bit more and talk about suggestions in terms of helping out the stadium and what fans can do in terms of a suggestion to the football club to get things better. But obviously we'll talk about that, Tom, then. But yes, that'll be noon on Monday. We'll be live as well, so you can get involved and share your thoughts on it. So do remember to do that. And obviously we'll do a reminder as well on Sunday as well for that. Right, on to West Ham, mate. So team news, just give us where we are at the moment. Lucas Paqueta's been ruled out for a month. He's rolled his ankle in training, so he'll be missing for this one. Vladimir Soufal's also going to be out as well, but they suspect he might be back for the next game. Not quite sure. Nicholas Füllkrug making progress. Apparently, they think he could be intention to play in the game against Everton, and that is the case also for Somerville. He's also ahead of schedule. A big bit of news was Mikel Antonio, which is that he is progressing very, very well with his recovery. He's been out in Dubai, and they actually do believe he's actually going to play a part again this season, which is pretty mental considering the fact he was, dragged out of a car not too long ago around Christmas time, and could have lost his life. Really, he was very, very fortunate not to. So, the fact that he could be playing football again this season is pretty remarkable. But that's apparently where we are. Tom, obviously coming off the back of a really disappointing result against Brentford, I think we were all going into that game with our towels up, all a little bit excited to see what we were going to get. And I don't know about you, but I was pretty confident of 3 points, to be honest with you. I thought I was expecting a quite comfortable win, actually. I was expecting a lot more, but we didn't get that. Fair play to Brentford, though. I thought they played well, but we weren't good, and we weren't in the first half. Second half, better. I think this game, we're going to see a response. This is my gut feeling. I don't think Graham Potter, he wasn't happy with the first half performance. I don't think he was happy with himself for making the decisions that he did in terms of formation and personnel. I think that he's tried something that just didn't work. He corrected it in the second half. So I don't think we're going to see a repeat of that. I'll be very surprised. I can't see that Graham Potter going, right, I'm going to play the same formation as what I set up the last game. I think we're going to see a better shape. I think we're going to see a better response from the players. He made it very clear he was disappointed with our, the slow start to the game. He wasn't impressed with. So I'm expecting a much better performance from this, and so much so that it's actually started. My confidence levels have started to creep up as the week's been going on, especially after seeing Potter in his press conference. What are your thoughts going into this game? Are you feeling optimistic? Are you feeling flat? How are you feeling, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, I do share your optimism, just because I think it, in a weird way, I mean, Arsenal away is never a good game, but it is kind of the perfect game for Potter, because it kind of, I think, makes his decision for him in terms of formation. In the games before Brentford, obviously, we were probably always going to be up against it, Chelsea away, Villa away, those kind of fixtures. And then the other two, with Fulham and Palace, he was kind of, we didn't have many players available, so he didn't have much choice. So he was playing with the back three in those games. And then Brentford, it was like we have players coming back, new signing, James Ward-Prowse back in the side. So it's kind of like a decision what he's going to do with the formation. He goes to a back four, as you say, it didn't really work. This kind of makes his mind up for him. If we had another home game or even an away game where you think, we might get 3 points, it might, make that decision harder. So I think he's going to go back to the back three. Arsenal, we expect to have a lot of the ball, as they always do at home, and particularly against us in this game. So I think I'm like you. I think we'll see a response in the fact that we'll be tight defensively. We'll have that compact shape we saw against Villa and Chelsea, and then it's what we can do on the counter attack. Can we pack a punch? Can we cause them issues? Which is going to be the big question for me, because Arsenal, we know they've got lots of injuries in the forward line. They're missing big players. People like Trossard will probably be playing in the striker position, or maybe Marino after his 2 goals against Leicester. So they're not as dangerous as they probably normally would be. So we're going to sit back, probably soak up a lot of pressure, and then try and hit on the break. That's the question. Can we cause them problems on the break? So I do share your optimism. I think it'll be a tight game. I think it'll be nervy. We'll obviously get to our predictions at the end, but we're definitely in it. We've definitely got a shot. I think if Arsenal had their full team, Saka, Martinelli flying, I think it would be a long afternoon. But yeah, there's a chance there. And I do share your optimism.
I think for me, the pressure's on Arsenal. The pressure is on Arsenal. I feel like West Ham go into this fixture. Really, we don't have that. We don't have to win this game, right? Okay, I get that we are down by the bottom of the league. I get that the teams below us could be picking up points and all that kind of stuff. So I understand, and also off the back of losing to Brentford, it's added that factor that we really need some points on the board is important. However, I don't consider this a must-win game. I really don't. There's not many people that will be looking at the Arsenal fixture away and thinking West Ham must go there and get 3 points. Arsenal, on the other hand, have to win this game. Let's get it right. This is a must-win game for Arsenal. They cannot afford to draw. They can obviously not lose. They have to play more 3 points. I think that'll play into our hands. I think we can capitalise on that. Like you said, Tom, I think we've shown before that we can frustrate teams. Graham Potter's very dynamic in terms of what he can do. I've already seen as a manager. He doesn't play one way. He's got other options, and he's shown that he can play defensively. He can play counter-attack football, and he can do it effectively as well. I think that's what we're going to see. Like you say, I think we're going to be going out on that pitch to really frustrate Arsenal, to make it tight, make it difficult for them, and we're going to then try to capitalise when we get our opportunities. And I think that's where we're going to try to cause some issues. And you know what? I think we will. I think we're going to cause some problems. And we need it in terms of, as a club at the moment. We've had a bad spell. We've had a bit, this has been a crap season. Let's get it right. It's been dreadful. We're all looking towards May, I think, really looking forward to it, to seeing the back of it, and then we can draw a line. But there's still plenty to play for in terms of getting the mood lifted. We want to go into the summer on a high. And I feel like these are the sort of games, Arsenal away, where you think to yourself, if West Ham can go there, get that result, it would shift the landscape so quickly. The mood would jump up. Everyone would be optimistic, and then we'd start looking forward to the end of the season. But as I say, I feel like that we can still go into this game in a kind of relaxed fashion. I don't feel like we need to panic and go out there and think we desperately need to get something. We can actually go out there with the mindset of thinking, let's cause them problems. Let's disrupt them. Let's knock their season. Because let's be honest, we've done it before. We've done it last season. West Ham got 3 points there. I'm fully deserving of it as well. They'll remember that. I don't think... I think that Arsenal fans in general and Arsenal players in general will be looking forward to this. Going into this game thinking this is West Ham. They have a real tendency to show up and cause issues. So I'm going into this a little bit buoyant. Actually, I'm feeling a little bit optimistic. Now, let's do our team, Tom. Now, what we'll do is rather than do our separate teams, let's talk about each position. We'll talk about goalkeeper, go through defence, and we'll sort of decide between us what we think is the best lineup, and then we'll sort of confirm our team. I've jotted down what I think I'd like to see. Right, let's start with in goal. Who are you having for your goalkeeper for this one, Tom?
Oh, it's a tough point for me. Like I think they both have different skill sets. For this game, I would go Fabianski personally. I know Areola is better with his feet, but how often we're going to be playing out in this game, I'm not too sure. I just think Fabianski is a little bit more reliable. Don't get me wrong, Areola's been okay in recent weeks since he's come back into the side. I think he had a decent game against Brentford. Actually, probably get the score down in some respects. So I feel bad about taking Areola out, but I would go Fabianski. What about you?
Oh, really? Okay, go Fabianski. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm quite easy. Like, I feel like with West Ham at the moment, we've got two very good number 2 goalkeepers. I don't think we've got a really good number 1 goalkeeper at the moment, which is a bit of a shame because they're both decent enough. But I feel like Fabianski's can't really be considered a number 1 Premier League goalkeeper anymore. And I just don't consider that with Areola. I think he's too inconsistent for me at times. So, but like you, to be honest with you, I'm quite easy going with this. For me, I've written down Areola. But as I say, I'm quite easy. If whoever he goes with, I'm fine. It doesn't really make too much of a difference for me. We're going to need. I'd like to think actually they're not going to be too busy. I'd like to think we've got a good defensive line in my mind anyway. We should have got a few options there. I want to make this tight. I'd like to think they're not going to be peppered with shots all game. So. Yeah, quite easy with that. Right. What I think we should do, Tom, is go with a formation. This is what I'm thinking. Go with the back 3, the wing backs, and then the boxing midfield with a striker. Is that real agreement there? Yeah. So my back 3 are. I want to see Todibo start this game. I've seen clips of him playing training. He looks fine to me, and also I don't want Mavropanos on this team. He's just too mistake prone. He's not good enough, and we're seeing it too often now. And I just want to see a change. I want Todibo, Kilman, and I'm going to put Aaron Creswell in there. I think, although I'm a bit concerned about his pace, a little bit. But I think there's enough protection there with him to cope with it. So, and he's a clever player, Creswell. You know what I mean? He adapts his game quite well to the fact that he's not the quickest anymore. I think he's a good player. So, I've been impressed with him this season. I think when he's been called upon, he's looked all right. So, what's your thoughts on that back 3?
Exactly the same. I was obviously, wanting to have Todibo in. Obviously, we're not too sure how he's going to fare. Maybe not play the full 90 minutes, but he needs to be in just because I don't want Mavropanos in there. And yeah, exactly the same. Kilman, obviously, I think has to start. And Cresswell, with Soufal out, I think it makes sense for him to be the left side of the back 3. I think that suits him now at his older age. I think left back is not going to be his position anymore. You just get done for pace too easily. We're going to have a deep line. You would have thought a low block, if you like. So, yeah, exactly the same back 3. So that's nice and easy.
Yeah, nice and easy. I like that one. Right, so I'm going to go for Aaron Wan-Bissaka as the right wing back. I think the left side, this is where I hope we're in agreement. We might not be, but I'm going to go with Ollie Scholes for this. I want to see him start. What are your thoughts, Tom?
Exactly the same. Yeah, I think Emerson was poor. Obviously got hooked at half-time against Brentford. I think these type of games suit Scholes. I think at home, I can understand why Potter didn't start him last week, because at home there's going to be pressure on us to get on the ball and try and do things. And that's when, if he plays a bad pass, you hear groans from the fans. It might get on the back of a young player. I think games like this, like we saw against Villa away in the Cup, he's just going to be up for it, and it's just going to be flying into tackles. And I think on the ball, it will be quite limited. Just hit the channels, just try and find whoever we say is up front. So yeah, Ollie Scholes for me definitely should deserve a starting place.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think he's proven that he's the number 1 player for that position. Actually, especially at the moment on form, he hasn't really put a foot wrong for me. He brings in energy as well to the team, which I really like. He's daring. He's happy to get in. But I really like what he brings. And as you say, Emerson's been poor this season. He wasn't good again against Brentford. Really, really poor, in fact. So I feel like this is the change that needs to happen. Right, the midfield is a big contentious one, because that's where we lost a lot in that first half against Brentford. We were actually awful. I thought Alvarez and Souček were terrible. So I do want to change it. I've gone without Alvarez. I don't really think we've got another option. I think he needs to play, because only when he's on it, he's very, very good. But that at the moment, again, he's another player that's had a poor season, I think, overall. I'm putting Andy Irvine in next to him. So I've been impressed with him, and I'm thinking about his performance in the Chelsea game. I thought he was outstanding. Until he got tired, I thought he was outstanding. He works so hard. He gets stuck in. And I think we're going to need that. I think that we're going to need, that Arsenal might not be littered with availability and quality up front, but I'll tell you what, everywhere else on the pitch they've got everyone available. Declan Rice, Thomas Partey. It's going to be a tough midfield battle. That I think you've got Alvarez in there who's going to bring that bite. And obviously, he, as I say, on his day, he's very good. But I think that Irvine, he gets stuck in. He's not frightened. He's a tough Scotsman. He'll get stuck right into there. And I think we're going to need that. This is going to be a battle, like you say. I think this is going to be a defensive, tough, gritty game, and we're going to have to roll our sleeves up and be ready to fight Arsenal. I'm just not convinced on Souček at the moment. I think his performance against Brentford wasn't good enough. I know don't get me wrong, he is a warrior, but I just think Irving would be the better option. What's your midfield two for this?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because we've not really had any real decent performances other than, like, say, Andy Irving in his short time against Chelsea. I have gone for Alvarez, like you say, not many other options. I wouldn't have Rodriguez in there at all. So I'd go Alvarez, but I would go James Ward-Prowse next to him, just because I think set piece is going to be massive for us. We're not going to have many opportunities going forward, so need to make those count. Obviously, he hasn't been great on set pieces in his first season, but in terms of free kicks, corners, he assisted a lot. So I've gone James Ward-Prowse. I think he can just do a job in the midfield there, get about the pitch as much as he can, and then when he gets the ball, try and keep it. And then, Alvarez next to him. So they're the two, and then obviously we'll go on to sort of further up the pitch. But that's the
I think you made a good point on James Ward-Prowse. I mean, I feel like, especially with the set piece element, I feel like that is a good point. I think we're not going to have many opportunities in this game. It's going to be a case of counter attack, and as you say, possibly getting the odd free kick or corner, just trying to nick something from that. I think that's how we're going to play. So it's a good shout. We're going James Ward-Prowse, and also possibly he's earned that because I thought he played well actually. For the fact he's been away, I thought he came back and put in a good shift. And what I liked about Ward-Prowse in the Brentford game is that he wanted the ball. He was dropping deep, give it to me. He wanted to make things happen. He wasn't hiding, which I think we do see a lot of, especially when things aren't going well. You see players that just don't seem desperate to get on that ball and make things happen. They're quite happy to sort of stay marked and look busy rather than actually want to make things happen. So yeah, I do understand that. As I say, I think I'd go with Irving if it was myself in this one, but I do get why Ward-Prowse. Again, like the goalkeeper, I don't think I'd be too disappointed to see Ward-Prowse start there. We're going to need, because he is that typical midfielder. He will get stuck in as well because we're going to need to. We're going to need a bit of force in that midfield because that's where we've been lacking. But yeah, no, fine. I totally understand your point on that one. Right, the front three then. I think two of them we're going to be the same. I'm going to go with Jared Bowen out on the right, but again, not as a right winger. I don't want him on the right wing. I want him inside right. I want him supporting. I want him closer to Ferguson. Obviously, Ferguson leading the line. I'm putting Lewis Guilherme on as the left-hand side, dropping Kudus. I've not been impressed with Kudus this season. I know he tries, he huffs, he puffs, but his execution's been terrible, I think, for a long time. He's been really lacking. He missed a big chance as well against Brentford where he should have scored. He missed a big chance as well in the previous fixture. I can't quite remember where near the end. Was it Villa? I think it might have been towards the end. I've just been disappointed with him. He's not had the season that we were expecting, nowhere near the levels he can hit. And I've got to be honest, I feel like we need to see this Guilherme play now. We've seen snippets of it, and I've been impressed with him, mate. To be honest with you, from what I've seen of him, he looks all right. He's fast, and I think you're going to need that against Arsenal. As you say, we're going to play a counter-attack football. It's good to have someone with some serious pace. I just want to give him a go. And also, I don't think it's a risk. I think if you put Guilherme out there, put him on for the first half, say to him, this is your chance. This is your chance now to show us that you are a Premier League player and you can go out there and do a job. I'd give him a go. I'd give him a go for this one. And then also, Tom, what I wanted to list as well, which I don't usually do, is the bench. If I went for my team, the bench would mean that I'd have, say, Fabianski, Mavropanos, Emerson, Souček, Kudus, Soler, and Ings, which I think is a really strong bench. Gives you plenty of options. And I like the fact having Kudus on the bench. Maybe he needs that as well. Maybe he needs to be dropped. It's a bit of a kick up the arse to say, you've not been good enough. I don't want to keep being rewarded with starts when he's just not been good enough. So that's what I'm going to go with for my front three. So Bowen, Ferguson, and Guilherme. What are your thoughts?
So I've got slightly different. The same in the fact of dropping Kudus. 100% agree with you there. It's just not been good enough. Need to kick up the backside to get him firing again. He's playing for a transfer of nowhere near of 18.5 million in the summer, as far as I'm concerned. I don't see a club bidding that at the moment. So if he wants to leave, he needs to get his act together. I've gone for, and I can already see the comments already, but I've gone for Thomas Souček in like a bit further forward on their six. So whether that, I think I would expect that to be Partey, and just sitting on him, disrupting him, and not letting Arsenal get into rhythm. Because we know Arsenal play from the back. We know that's how they control games. I would have Souček sitting on him. And then particularly as we're not going to be playing lots of football. So when we get it, we want to be quite direct. He's someone we can hit. I think he's better further up the pitch. When he's got time on the ball back in midfield, I think that's where you see, the problems with Souček. And then I've gone for a front two of Bowen and Ferguson.
Okay.
Like you, I want Bowen playing off of Ferguson. I don't want him out on the right. I want the wing backs to provide our width, and Bowen and Ferguson almost like directly up against Gabriel and Saliba, which is going to be a tough game for them. Obviously, they're two world-class centre backs as far as I'm concerned. But just disrupting them, just causing them problems, getting Gabriel a little bit wound up. We know he's a bit temperamental, can get a yellow card and stuff like that. And Saliba's been a little bit dodgy. I think Isak against Newcastle for the Newcastle game really caused him problems. Get Ferguson up against him, being physical and getting Bowen off of him, and just hopefully for little flicks off of Souček and off of Ferguson, Bowen can get through. And in front of goal, we know Bowen can be lethal. So that's what I've gone for. Like you, Kudus, I wouldn't put in the starting 11. Hopefully off the bench he comes on with a point to prove. I wouldn't mind seeing Guilherme, to be honest. Like you, I think I've been quite impressed. And what I really liked in the Chelsea game is he moved across the pitch quite a lot. And he wanted the ball. He made a couple of mistakes. I think he tried to win a corner and it come off him and went out for a goal kick. And then he still wanted the ball. He still came looking for the ball in different positions. And I love that from a young player. It just shows a lot of courage. So wouldn't mind seeing him, but that's the front three I've gone for. Sort of undernard with Soler instead of Souček. But I think Souček just gives that height again from set pieces with Ward-Prowse. Souček does offer a lot there. So that's the front three. And hopefully, Evan Ferguson for a full 90 minutes is a bit of a risk, but I think it's a risk we have to take. And hopefully that causes us some problems.
Yeah. I totally get you. I get what your thinking is here, and the thing with Souček, he does offer that goal threat. He's got such a tendency to nick goals in these big games as well. He's one of them. He's difficult to deal with defenders, especially with set pieces, like you say. If you're going to go with James Ward-Prowse, having Souček available as well, I think it's quite important. So I do understand your thinking. The other point before we go into the prediction is Guilherme wouldn't be something that Arteta would be planning for. I think it would throw them off a little bit. I think if they saw Guilherme start, they might think, okay, we don't really know a lot about this lad, really. I'm not saying they've got no clue because this is their industry. I'm sure they will have some data on the player, but I can't imagine Arsenal have been planning all week to defend against Guilherme, the front three of Guilherme, Ferguson and Bowen. I think it might throw him off a little bit prior to the game and they might not know what to expect. Because to be honest, I don't think we know what to expect. That's the issue. We haven't really seen enough of Guilherme to go, right, we know exactly how this guy plays. I don't really know. All I know is he's pretty quick. And I just feel like we might need that. Bearing in mind as well, Tom, even if we go for that sort of starting lineup, if it doesn't work, he can change it. At half time, if he just thinks he's not going to be effective here, then you can then make the changes, which, as we know from Potter, he's certainly not frightened to do that, which is one thing I do as well like about him. Right, Tom, on to the score prediction. Right, let's go with you first. What are you thinking?
I would love to sit here and say that I think West Ham are going to win or draw. I think it'll be a tight game, as we talked about. I think the performance will be much better. I'm either going 1-0 or 2-1 Arsenal. I think a set piece from Arsenal is going to be our undoing. It's like I said before, it's how often we can cause them problems on the break. And I think it'll be difficult. We don't have a lot of pace in our side, even the 11 I've selected. There's not a lot of pace in that team. That's going to be a problem, no matter really who we go with. But I think it's going to be a cage game, close, and I think a set piece either way could decide it. And that's why it could go to us. It could be a James Ward-Prowse special. But I'll go 1-0 Arsenal, Gabriel from a set piece. Unfortunately,
I mean, I'm going to go ball with my heart on this one. I've been not looking forward to it all week. I'm going to be honest, but as the last 2 days have sort of, I've just my confidence level just started to creep up a little bit. I'm feeling a little bit more optimistic. I'm not confident. I'm not going into the game feeling like, yeah, we're definitely going to get something. I've just got this feeling we're going to get a really good response from West Ham. And I do wonder with Arsenal whether there's going to be a little bit of element of nerve against West Ham, thinking they've done us before. This team always tend to rock up and cause us issues when we don't need it. We've got a real habit of doing it. I've just got a feeling we're going to get something, mate. I really do. I've gone for 0-0. I've just got a feeling we're going to defend well. We're going to make it tight, make it difficult for them. And I've just got this feeling we're going to get something at Arsenal. And let's be honest, I think if West Ham can get something, I think that's their title bid over. I really do. I think if they don't win this game, I think that will pretty much be them done. Especially if Liverpool go and beat Man City, I think that will be them out of the title race pretty much then. And then their attention will have to shift to Champions League. That's my prediction. Bloody hope I'm right. Right, so me and Tom will be back on Monday. We'll be doing our live shows, we said, at noon. We'll be talking about the stadium and obviously the fallout of this result, and hopefully we're all in a good place by then. And we'll also have match reviews coming out on Sunday as well, and bits and pieces. But, mate, pleasure as always, and fingers crossed that we've got something to cheer about on come Saturday.
Yeah, let's hope so. Come on your irons.
Right, take care. Thanks for watching, everyone. Take care and come on your irons.